So like a lot of independent schools, we didn't have a really clearly defined evaluation criteria, and we didn't really have a defined growth framework. We encouraged teachers to write goals, but then it wasn't very systemic. There was no good system to follow up with teachers and to coach them through it. By implementing CFD, it's been revolutionary for our faculty culture. Now we've actually got people identifying areas to grow, and the growth is really showing up in student learning. So I'll give you a couple of examples. We identified as a school that we wanted to work on project-based learning, and that was something new to the teachers at school. And a few of them articulated goals in PBL and went to work on them. And we've had remarkable projects at school happen. And now it's kind of caught like wildfire. And teachers are setting those goals and supporting each other and trying to achieve them. And so it's been a self-perpetuating cycle of growth annually. It's really even more than annual, because we have some teachers finish their goals early and set another goal that they work on that year. So it's really true that CFD fosters a growth-focused faculty culture, which is what we didn't have and really what we wanted. We wanted growth mindset for kids. We knew we needed growth mindset for adults. CFD is perfect for that. I think it's an aspiration for schools to have teachers who are motivated to grow on their own, to be motivated to continue their own professional learning as lifelong learners. All of our independent schools and private schools talk about lifelong learning, and we recognize lifelong learning is important. We need the adults to model lifelong learning. This model actually puts the teacher, because it's teacher directed, teachers choose their goals, teachers initiate their growth plans with the hope of their growth coach, and then teachers pursue the learning in the goals. So because it's so teacher directed, we're actually growing their capacity to learn on their own. And it's infectious because the teachers are showing each other, like, hey, I'm working on this and I'm growing in this, and the students are seeing the teachers as learners themselves. And so it's this really nice symbiotic relationship between the teachers and the students that we're all striving for growth. So it's just really infectious within the culture. It's really inspirational when a teacher comes and says, I've really changed as a result of this. I'll tell you just a quick anecdote. A teacher came to me recently and said, this opportunity to work on this particular thing, she wanted to work on kind of more student-centric, inquiry-based science approach. She's a science teacher, she's a great science teacher. She really wanted to work on having students asking questions more, students pursuing their own interests. It has changed her whole view on what kids can do. Before she kind of had a fixed mindset, these kinds of kids can only learn this much. She said, what I've seen is that all the kids can learn. They can learn in really powerful ways when they're engaged and they can follow their own questions. I couldn't ask for anything more, really. It's perfect. So we started by crowdsourcing the essential expectations, which is exactly what ISM recommends. We started with the ISM template of 10 essential expectations, and we workshopped it through a cohort of faculty through a summer. And we started in the fall, then presenting it to the whole faculty. And we ended up with 11. We have 11 essential expectations. And then we spent quite a bit of time that fall workshopping characteristics of professional excellence. So we needed these two documents so that we knew what the evaluation criteria were, which are our 11 essential expectations. And then we've got those things that we would say are the marks, the hallmarks of excellence for any member of our faculty from which they could set growth goals. So at first there was some question. Faculty, I'm not sure honestly that they believed that all we wanted for their evaluation were these 11 things. And I'll never forget a day in a meeting where a teacher looked at me and said, okay, I really get it. It's really just these 11 things. I said, yeah, it's just those 11 things that we agreed to. That's the criteria for evaluation. So I would say with all transparency, there was an initial hump of skepticism we needed to get over. But once we've gotten over that, now we have a culture where people aren't fearful for their jobs. They're not mystified by what the evaluation criteria is. It's not hidden someplace. Everybody knows what they need to do, and that we trust them as professionals. We hire good people to be good at their job. We trust them to do it. They do these things, that's handled. We really just want them to be focusing on great student learning by going through their growth goals. So when we've set those characteristics of professional excellence and started the growth goal program, it really released them from other concerns and they could just focus on that. So that's what we did initially. The thing that I really like about the model is that I can be easily evaluating all of my faculty because I've taken off the table a checklist of things I have to go through during the 1 or 2 time observations in every classroom, which any administrator knows is very burdensome. And it's not authentic because everybody knows that this is the day where you do your best lesson. It's the dog and pony show day, and we all see it, and I just check you off the list. You showed up on time, you went over the instructional objectives, whatever's on the checklist. Everybody in school pretty much agreed it's inauthentic. So from an administrator standpoint, I no longer have that. I've got about a 10-minute meeting with every faculty member at the end of the year where I go over, you met the expectations. So it's really easier for me. The other thing is it's really helped me in selective retention of faculty, because as soon as I can see that something is not happening in the essential expectations, I go and I have a conversation with that person. I said, hey, listen, I'm hearing this, or I'm noticing when I go by your classroom that classroom management is not happening and student learning isn't happening. We can have a conversation right now about the essential expectations. I don't have to wait for an annual review time. We can say, you're not meeting here, let's go to work on that. So it's really helped me be able to talk to faculty about doing the baseline stuff. But 97, 98, 99% of teachers meet the essential expectations. So now the best thing about this for an administrator, I can just have conversations with teachers about how are you doing with your growth goals? Tell me about some awesome stuff you're learning. And the rest of the administrivia is kind of off the table. We don't even have to worry about that. So essential to the growth goal model is the idea that the teacher can work through the steps of setting a goal all the way through reflecting and socializing the goal. And they need somebody to help coach them through that. So at my school, we decided we needed to use our existing structure of having department chairs coach their teachers through that process. And then I work with the department chairs and department chairs work with each other as they go through their growth goals. So we established the criteria for this growth coach. Right? So the growth coach helps the teachers. The idea of the growth coach is that we work on maximizing a faculty member's capacity, grow themselves toward whatever their goal is. It's a little different than an instructional coach. Like lots of schools have instructional coaches who are experts in a particular pedagogy, and they say, you want to do group learning? Great, here are the hallmarks of group learning, here's how you do it. They're expected to be experts and they just hand you the strategy and teach it to you. Growth coach is pretty different because the idea of the CFD growth goal system is that a teacher identifies an area they want to grow in. Maybe it might be collaborating with my peers to develop new partnership opportunities with corporations in our area or service organizations in our area, and they want to grow in their capacity to do that. Well, that's going to require some coaching by people who may not yet be experts in it, but can help the teacher set a goal, help them collect evidence and ask them good questions of whether they think they're meeting the goal, give them feedback on how the goal is going, maybe redirect them to take the goal and push it a little deeper and go a little harder on that, and help them put together annual reflection on it and then socialize it. So the growth goal coach plays a kind of, I would say, kind of partnership role through the process, even though they may not be expert on that particular thing. So we worked through a bunch of habits of mind for those people, and that's been a pretty critical role to making sure the goals are met. So this is super important. The growth goal coach in the CFD model needs to be seen as an authentic partner in growth. And to grow, sometimes we fail and we have to redirect ourselves, right? How many of us learn to ride a bicycle and never falling off? That doesn't happen. So if a goal is really significant and requires work, it's not going to go perfectly. There will be a moment like, oh, I didn't do it exactly right. I have to. And for teachers to believe that it's safe and that they're secure to do that, we highly recommend that the growth coach and the evaluator are separate. So at my school, the way we did that was we took the department chair out of evaluation conversations. So as division head, I do all the evaluation with faculty, and the department chair only does the ongoing conversation about growth. So that person is really seen as a safe person to help coach. And we have a few faculty at large who act as coaches for fellow faculty, and so that takes away the evaluation problem also. At my school, teachers sometimes come to me for conversations about growth because they've come to trust me that I'm going to act just in that vein as a growth coach and not as evaluator. But I've gone so far as to make jokes about, now I'm wearing my growth goal hat, that kind of growth coach hat rather than evaluator hat, because I think separating those two things is so crucial to the success of this model. If you've got a small faculty, sometimes it's not possible to delineate all these roles and have them be unique people. So a division head might find himself or herself, or a department chair might find themselves in a position where they have to be both a little bit evaluator and growth coach. So then we just think it's very important to clarify for the teacher which role you're acting in at any given time, and really foster over time that trust within the faculty. I think predictability and support, two of the hallmarks of great schools that ISM research has shown for years and years and years. When faculty come to experience that is predictable, this is a safe and predictable evaluation system. This person really is invested in making sure that I become my best through the growth model. Then they come to see that that's okay. That this person can both be my evaluator because it's so predictable. I know it's going to work, and can push me to grow on my goal. Even if I'm failing a little bit, can kind of help me get through that failure, or help me pull myself through it, which is ultimately the goal of the growth model, right? To make me a lifelong learner who can independently grow on my own, following my own goals. I think it works as long as the people are really clear what roles they're playing at any given time.